Hi everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Atwood Financial Planning's Instagram Live Q&A. My name is Eric. I am the Atwood Associate in Los Angeles, and today we are going to talk about gig workers, specifically unemployment insurance and gig workers. Now, these days, gig workers make up about 34% of the workforce. And it seems like most of the gig workers are here in LA. So I work with a lot of gig workers, and I used to work in TV, so I know firsthand what it's like. Now, last week, our associate Katie talked about how the best ways to deal with variable incomes, which certainly includes gig working. That's whether you're an Uber driver or an Instacart delivery person, whether you're an office temp, or whether you're working TV or movies. Anything where you get paid per project or for a certain number of weeks that's predetermined. The job's just gonna last for a certain number of weeks. Now, if you saw last week's Instagram Live, you know that our advice to gig workers is to have several bank accounts, set up several separate bank accounts. One of them would be for any untaxed income you make. Now, that could be all of your gig work is untaxed, maybe some of it, but whatever is not taxed should be put into one separate account. Out of that account, you can transfer however much money you need for your monthly expenses. You transfer that into your home account, and you leave the rest kind of for taxes, really. Then you also have, of course, the rainy day fund, which is $1,500 to $3,000 for something that might go wrong, like a flat tire, like a clogged sink, something like that. And then you have your emergency fund, which is several months of your monthly budget. However much you need to live for a month, you have 3 to 6 months of that put away in the emergency fund for a real emergency, losing your job, divorce, or pandemic. So now, the way things stand now, everybody's gig is different, the situation. For example, television and movies stopped. They literally, all production stopped in like March. So if you were working on a show, you were out. If you were looking for something, there wasn't anything to get. And I've been speaking to people who work with Uber and Lyft. They were sometimes not busy because nobody was going anywhere, so they didn't need a ride. Sometimes, some of them chose not to drive because they didn't want to expose themselves to all the pandemic out there. So the important thing is, whatever the situation of your particular gig, the important thing to know is what you have out there available to you to help. And right now, for the first time, you have unemployment insurance for 1099 gig workers. Now, most states, I can't speak for all 50, I don't know the rules of all 50 states, I'm going to say most states do not offer unemployment insurance to 1099 gig workers. But due to the pandemic, the federal government has given the states money to do that. So they called it the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, PUA. That is a minimum of $167 a week for anyone, a 1099 worker, a gig worker, anyone is eligible. Now that weekly payment also, it's not only $167. They automatically check your, when you apply for unemployment, they will automatically check your 2019 taxes and see what your income was for 2019 and raise it from 167 up to 450, somewhere in there, based on last year's income. So that means you are guaranteed 167. You can get as much as 450. Now, all that is separate and different from the $600 per week, I don't know, call it a bonus that the federal government tacked on. Now that comes automatically to you. That is added to whatever your unemployment amount is. Automatically, you don't have to apply for it. You don't have to qualify for it. If you're getting unemployment, you get that. And in California, at least, they just automatically tack it on to your number. So if it's 167, you're now making 767. So you've also probably heard that that is about to run out. That's only going to last through next week, I believe. But don't worry about that, because the federal government will very likely re-up that. Now, they may not make it 600 again, but it'll be something. It may be 400 or something, but there will be something, and that will probably last through the year. So there is stuff out there for people like who are gig workers, who don't pay weekly unemployment insurance taxes and stuff. They still have something out there. So our advice to you is absolutely apply for unemployment. If you're a gig worker, just do it. Every state is different. Their rules and their procedures are different. Some are slower, some are more frustrating and annoying, but do it, because also this federal money is backdated. So if you haven't applied because you didn't think you were eligible because you're a gig worker, and you apply now, you will get all the money going back to whenever you became unemployed, April, March, whenever it might have been. You will get all that money and the 600 bonus. So absolutely apply for unemployment. Now that brings up an interesting question that we had sent to us earlier today from Donna. She asked about a gig that she could take that pays her less than what she would get on unemployment. Should she take it? How does it affect unemployment? That's a good question, and it's important to know. In California, again, at least, and just to be sure, double check in your own state, but in California, they will just kind of subtract whatever you earned from your unemployment payment. So if, for example, your unemployment is $200 a week and you do a gig that pays you $150, you will get $50. And then on top of that, you'll get the $600 or whatever the new number is now once the $600 goes away next week. And the other thing, it's also very important to apply just so you can have your claim set up, because sometimes it is very difficult to get your claims set up and to get the payments rolling. So just apply, have it. If a gig comes up, like Donna's question, you can take it. If it's more than unemployment, you just won't get paid for the weeks that you're doing the gig. But once the gig starts, you immediately pick up the same claim that you had. You don't have to start over and reapply and go through everything. So it's very important to set up your claim. It's good to always have it there. And I have a question here from Lori about having to apply every week. You know, is it a weekly thing? Is it unemployment? It's not. Again, I can't speak for all 50 states, but I know in California it's bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks, they send you a notice that you have to certify your last 2 weeks. You fill in whatever question, answer whatever questions they have, which is mostly, did you look for work? Did you make any money? And you send it in, and it's just every 2 weeks. So if you had a gig in that 2 week period, you would put down, yes, I worked, I made this much money, and they just subtract it out of what you would have gotten for that payment. So you don't have to reapply every week. It's a one-shot deal. They give you a total amount that you get, because the federal money is supposed to go for 39 weeks. So they calculate what you would get if it's $200 for 39 weeks, and that's how much you have in the pot. And in California, every 2 weeks, they give you your 2 weeks worth, or whatever gets you up to your 2 weeks worth minus whatever you might have made, whatever money you might have made. Now, the next thing that's important to remember is that probably the money you make from unemployment is not going to be the same as you make from your job. Probably. It's possible that with the $600 or the $400 or whatever it is, maybe it's a little more, you're lucky, but more than likely it's less than you make regularly. So it's important that once you get your unemployment established and you know the number, look at your budget, your home personal budget, figure it out again. Get yourself as close to that as you can, because you don't want to fall behind and start using credit cards or use up all of your emergency fund to survive, because we don't know how long this is going to go on, how long the pandemic's going to go on, how long the unemployment, how long before your gig comes back, if it comes back fully or partially. We don't know. So go into your budget, figure out how to make your expenses as close to your new income as possible. But also, when you do that, remember that unemployment insurance is always taxable. So keep that in mind. It may be smart to put that money into the account you have for untaxed income, because at the end of the year, there's going to be tax implications. Some states, California I know does, they offer the option of them withholding tax before they send you the money, but that's not for the $600. That's only for your regular unemployment insurance. So remember, the $600 is taxable also. So keep that in mind when you're deciding where that money should go and what you should do with it. Keep in mind you may need some of it left over for taxes at the end of the year. I have another question here. This is a good one about PPP. PPP is a payroll protection plan. I believe that's what the acronym is. But I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been talked about a lot since maybe March. That's really doesn't apply to us, people I'm talking about, gig workers. That applies to business owners who have a payroll, who have people on a payroll that they're trying to keep paid. So that doesn't apply to you as a gig worker. You wouldn't be considered an employee of your own corporation or anything. You're just an unemployed 1099 gig worker. So when you're looking into things, just look at unemployment insurance. That's what you care about, not PPP. There's also something else called EIDL, which was a grant that went for businesses, but gig workers could also apply for it, and some got it. If you hear about it or see it anywhere, don't think about it. It's over, it's gone, all that money's been used, so it doesn't apply to us either. All we care about, unemployment insurance. It's very important. It's out there now for gig workers. Take advantage of it. It's been something that's been supporting, keeping the economy afloat. The unemployment, the $600 bonus, it's been very useful. Absolutely. We can't stress enough that it's really important that unemployed gig workers apply for this and get it. So at least you have a sense of, I have some money coming in. You'll know what the number is for 39 weeks or, however long it actually is. I think it's 39 weeks. So for 39 weeks, you'll know what your income is. You'll at least be able to have one less variable in figuring out how to support yourself during this pandemic. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers some questions you had about unemployment insurance and you as a gig worker. If you have any other questions, you can DM us on Instagram. We'll try and answer them. And don't forget to come back next week, same time, same place. Our associate Kim Palacios will be talking. And if you have any questions during the course of this week that you would like her to address, you can send them to us at planning@atwoodfinancial.com, and they will be passed along to Kim, and she will answer them for you next week. Okay, have a good week, everybody. Stay safe and healthy, and remember to apply for unemployment insurance if you are a gig worker. Thank you. Bye-bye.